It's kind of raining, enough that it's spotting my notes, but hopefully it's not going to get any worse. Hello, welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today is a Sunday Stuff and Things. And on this Sunday Stuff and Things, we have stuff and things to talk about, including upcoming videos, things you can look forward to on Stuff and Things YouTube and Stuff and Things Patreon. We're going to get into a question I got in hashtag askstuffandthings, asking me why there still aren't any ads on YouTube. Has my whole gambit of not putting pipe stuff on the channel backfired? Is it not working? We'll talk a lot about, well, not a lot, but we'll talk a bit about Rattray's Howl of the Wind. It has rocketed up towards the top of my list as favorite blends. My experience trying to buy a Bible recently. Now, this is not going to become a religious show or anything, don't worry, but we're going to talk a little bit about this. I found this interesting. And then, of course, we'll have your questions, comments, and feedback in hashtag askstuffandthings, and then we'll close out the show with Patreon shoutouts and updates. So let's get into it. There are water droplets on the lens. I know that's probably showing up, but I don't know how badly, and I don't know how much I want to keep trying to just like wipe them off. I don't know if that's going to even help. I'll just leave them here. It might turn into some interesting surrealist kind of image here. But anyway, let's talk about upcoming videos, things you can look forward to on Stuff and Things YouTube and Stuff and Things Patreon. First up, this week, Patreon exclusive, there will be the first impressions video of Rattray's Howl of the Wind. A very interesting blend, one that I am very enthusiastic about. I know I'm kind of giving away the first impressions video, but be sure to check that out if you are a Patreon supporter. Remember that the pipe videos are now posted exclusively to Patreon because YouTube doesn't like them. Next on YouTube, Stuff and Things YouTube, there will be a video on my Nikon 55mm f2.8 AIS micro Nikkor macro lens that I have for my film camera system. I have a Nikon FE2 film camera that I use every day. Love that camera, use it all the time. And I got a very cool vintagey lens for that. It's a lens that was produced from 1979 to 2020, I believe. So a very long production range or history for that lens. And I got kind of a newer one. I think it's from the early 2000s, and it is fantastic. Those old Nikon lenses, the manual focus ones, they're all metal and glass. I mean, there's a little bit of plastic on there in the mount and everything, but they're so well made. They're so nice. It's just this hunk of enameled aluminum and brass and glass. They just are so cool, and you can get them for really cheap. So check that video out. That'll be on Stuff and Things YouTube. And then the week after, we will have the full review of Rattray's Howl of the Wind on Patreon exclusively. Lots of good stuff coming up. I think I have some fancy sunglasses coming to review. Lots of good stuff coming up on YouTube and on Patreon. So stay tuned. All right, gang. So we had a missive from Orochi_001 who said, I can't help but notice the decision to halt all PT content. Oh, maybe, yeah, so PT content on YouTube. If you know our euphemisms, you'll know what that means. So pipe content has done nothing to restore ads to the channel. Did it do anything vis-a-vis your being recommended to folks? If not, it seems like the views you'd get with the content would reach more people, leading a larger number of folks to your Patreon. I hope you're doing well, Bradley. Thank you, Orochi001 or _001. So good question. Some people have been asking me about this. If you've been following the saga on the channel, you will know that in February, yes, early February, I was told by YouTube that my channel, with no warning whatsoever, I got an email just saying, hey, your channel's demonetized. You've been kicked out of the partner program. And the reason was for promoting self-harm. And we went through this whole thing where I was trying to go back and forth with the YouTube support staff and all this stuff. I still don't know if I ever was actually speaking to a real human being, but it was basically like talking to a brick wall. I was trying to ask them, what can I have on the channel? What can I not have on the channel if I want to be in the partner program? Never got a response. And we've been navigating this for several months now, and I was put into a 90-day punishment phase, where basically my channel was kicked out of the partner program, completely demonetized, and then they said within 90 days, if you clean your channel, you can reapply to be in the partner program. So what does that mean? Not being in the partner program means that you don't get recommended as much on YouTube. YouTube claims that's not true, but it is true. All the research I've done, and just from my own view count and seeing my analytics show that as soon as that happened, as soon as the channel wasn't monetized, and as soon as I wasn't in the partner program, views started tanking. Now people can say, oh, it's because you started taking the pipe stuff off, so views started tanking. No, I can check very granularly on the analytics. The clicks per impression rate, all these different things. And I can see that basically once YouTube is no longer getting money from these videos, they see no reason to suggest them to people. So being in the partner program is important, not just for the monetization, it's also for getting in the algorithm, for getting suggested to people, for being put in front of other viewers, and then also for having recourse if anything goes wrong. If something happens with my channel now, I have no recourse anymore because I am not a, quote, partner. And so it's important to get back in the partner program. I've been trying to figure out exactly what that means. There is still no clarity on to what I have actually done to break the rules. Saying that I'm promoting self-harm when I'm reviewing a pipe blend, you know, it doesn't actually, if you read the letter of the law on YouTube's ad-friendly guidelines and all that stuff and community guidelines, there's nothing that I've actually done ever on my channel that would be considered a violation of those rules. They're left, I think, intentionally vague. My understanding of it is that anytime I'm actually showing S-ing AP, that is in violation of the rule. I think I can still talk about these things using the fun euphemisms that we use, but if I actually show a P being S'd, that is considered promoting self-harm. I'm not totally sure, but that's what I've determined. And so slowly I've been taking things off of YouTube and we're putting them on Patreon. The only way to support the channels right now at all is via Patreon because my YouTube channel is not monetized, but also Patreon is the only place where you can get the pipe stuff. And I've been rebuilding my archive of pipe blend reviews and stuff on Patreon. Every week I post a new one from the archives. We're going to be getting into revisited episodes, first impressions episodes, all that good stuff on Patreon. And so no, right now, the fact that I took the pipe stuff or that I'm taking pipe stuff off the channel and not posting new pipe stuff on the channel, that has not helped anything yet because I haven't been able to reapply for the partner program yet. My punishment will be over soon and then I can try to reapply. We'll see what happens. I still don't know if I will be considered to have broken rules by leaving anything that's even remotely pipe related on the channel. I'm not sure. I don't know if the suspension is up and I try to reapply and I'm rejected, does that mean I have to wait another 90 days? I have no idea. But basically this is where we are. Once I try to reapply, it's gonna be how it has been for the last few months where pipe stuff goes on Patreon, non-pipe stuff goes on YouTube, and that's just kind of the way it has to be. I have a feeling that YouTube is eventually going to completely ban anything that shows S-ing anything on their platform, and not just that you can't be in the partner program or you can't be monetized. I think they're going to start deleting channels, and if that happens, you're screwed. Your channel will just be gone. You could wake up one morning, your channel's gone, and there's nothing you can do. So I'm trying to get ahead of this a little bit. I think I can see the way the wind is blowing, and just by reading forums and doing research, I think that's where we're going here on YouTube. It sucks. I think it's stupid, but I'm not gonna just torpedo my entire channel. I wanna keep the non-pipe stuff up on YouTube because that's the best place for people to find that right now. So yeah, and there still is the issue of discoverability for my Patreon and things like that. I'm going to try to force myself to be more active on Instagram in the future, showing you know, the pipe stuff that you can see on Patreon, because you're right, if you don't see it on YouTube, how are you gonna find the Patreon to begin with? So yeah, it's gonna be an adjustment period. It's gonna be a little painful for a while. I might lose some people. I know I've already gotten messages and comments from people saying like, it sucks that you put the pipe stuff behind a paywall. I'm not going to watch anymore. I can understand that. I understand that that does kind of suck, that you can't get it for free anymore. But that's just kind of the way it is right now. And I really do believe that eventually YouTube is going to just ban all of that kind of content from YouTube entirely, whether it's monetized or not, whether you're in the partner program or not. So I think we're kind of getting ahead of things, and I think we'll be in a good place in a few months when everything sort of shakes out and we know where we are. So that's an update on all that stuff. It's kind of sunny, but it's still kind of raining at the same time. Is there a rainbow? I'll have to go look for a rainbow later. I think our exposure is still okay. So recently, I decided to buy a Bible. Now, don't worry, this isn't going to get all religious or philosophical or anything like that. But, you know, I've been reading a lot of ancient literature lately. I read Herodotus, the Histories. I read the Iliad. I read the Odyssey. I read Xenophon, Anabasis. Lots of ancient literature. I've been really interested in that and just ancient history in general. And I'm not going to make any comment on religion, which religion is right, whether or not I believe in God, like any of that stuff. That's not what I'm talking about here, but just the Bible as an interesting piece of ancient literature. It is an interesting piece of ancient literature. I was raised in a church as a kid. I don't even know what you would call it, what denomination it would be. It was like non-denominational, maybe full gospel, evangelical. I don't know. I have no idea what you would call it. It was kind of weird, I'll have to say, when I was growing up. There was a lot of exuberant stuff going on in my church, but we always had the King James version of the Bible, first printed in 1611, and that was the Bible I was always familiar with. And that's the Bible that I think a lot of people are familiar with. Even if you don't go to church or anything, you will have heard, "Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, the Lord is my shepherd." You know, I shall not be in want, he leadeth me besides the green pastures. So it's that version of the Bible that most people, I think, are familiar with. And I was like, oh, I should get a Bible again. I still have my childhood King James Bible, but it's pretty ratty and it's not really a great thing to try to take around and read. I think that's just kind of more of a sentimental artifact for me that I'll keep put away. So I wanted a Bible to read, just to check things out. And I've been listening to this cool podcast called Biblical Time Machine that kind of delves into the historical background for stuff in the Bible. It's interesting. So I wanted a Bible, and oh my, there are so many options now. I was flabbergasted. So like I said, when I was a kid, we used the King James Version, and then I think we also had NIV, the New International Version. And I started looking up like, oh, what's a good translation of the Bible now? Because, you know, most of it was written there was Old Biblical Hebrew, there was Aramaic, there was Greek. And I was just wondering like, oh, is there a newer version that people think is really good, really accurate, but still manages to maintain some of the lyrical quality of the King James? And my Lord, did I see a lot. There's the New American Standard Bible, NASB. There's the New Revised Standard Version, NRSV UE. There's the EV. There are just so many acronyms for all these different versions of the Bible, and my head was just spinning. I had no idea what I should get. I remember as a kid not even liking the New International Version because I didn't like the modern English that it used. When I'm reading the Bible, I want it to sound old. Like, I don't want it to be, hey, and God said to Moses, hey, what's up, Moses? Like, I don't want it to be in vernacular English. It just doesn't sound right to me. And so I started looking into all these different versions, and basically at the end of the day, I just ended up buying another King James Version. I almost bought, they have reprints, like almost exact reprints of the original 1611 King James Version with the page layout, the margin notes, and like what would you even call it? Like the page headers, like these really decorative headers and all these things, and the original spelling. So like have, H-A-V-E, would be H-A-U-E in the original King James Version. And that seemed really cool to me, but I didn't like the size and the format of the one I saw. So maybe that's something I would look into eventually, having the original King James Version without the modern spelling updates. But I ended up getting just the normal King James Version with the Apocrypha. So I was very interested in the Apocrypha because as a kid, we didn't read the Apocrypha. I think that's a Catholic thing. Even though my family was originally Catholic, my father sort of ethnically, I guess you can't be ethnically Catholic, but traditionally his family was Catholic, but then he left the Catholic Church and was in whatever church we were in when I was a kid. So I guess it's more of a Protestant thing to not have the Apocrypha. So I had never read any of these books like 1st and 2nd Maccabees, and I don't even know. There are all sorts of books that I've never read before. And so I wanted to read those too. So I got Old and New Testament, King James Version with Apocrypha, nice leather-bound version. And I'm excited to peruse this and see. I knew the Bible fairly well as a kid. I always went to Sunday school and, you know, was raised in that. So it'll be fun to revisit some of these stories. I did reread the Samson story in my old Bible. Samson, what a maniac. But yeah, I think I'm going to have just as much fun reading that, or at least parts of it, as I did reading the Iliad and the Odyssey and Anabasis and Herodotus, the histories and everything. Because, you know, some of the Bible was written, some people say as early as like 800 BC. Some of it was written during the Babylonian exile. Some of it was probably written, well, obviously the Gospels, the New Testament, a lot of that was written, you know, in the 1st century, 2nd century AD. So it's ancient literature, very, very ancient literature, and it's fascinating stuff. So yeah, if not, again, not to make this a religion show or anything, but I'm curious to know what versions of the Bibles you guys like. Apparently the NRSV is the one that a lot of scholars use, but again, when I was reading the English in that, it was just too new. I like a little bit of ornamentation. I like it to be a little archaic. Just sounds better to me. But let me know in the comments below if you have a particular favorite translation and why. All right, gang, but now it is time for hashtag askstuffandthings. Remember, if you have a question for me and you would like to answer it on the Sunday Stuff and Things, tweet at SATBradley with hashtag askstuffandthings. If you are a Patreon supporter, you can leave me a question via Patreon and go right to the front of the line, or you can leave questions, comments, and feedback in the comment section of my YouTube videos. I read through every single one every single week. First, we have some feedback from last week's Sunday Stuff and Things. This is from @TomBrown1898. Bradley, for what it's worth, traditionally McBaron blends were cased with a maple sugar solution. We used to call them MacBite. Yeah, I was talking about McBaron mixture Scottish blend feeling like it was going to bite, and a lot of those non-HH McBaron blends just have that kind of bitey feel to them. And yes, I've heard that as well about the maple syrup. @Surfrat8884 says, can't say I like Scottish mixture. Something about the topping just doesn't agree with me. Plum cake and roll cake I can handle. Yeah, like I said, at the end of the whole Scottish mixture thing, or mixture Scottish blend thing, I didn't hate it, but it still wasn't something that I loved, absolutely. @Blake's Pipe says, I have a tin of Scottish mixture. Looking forward to opening it over time. Is it possible with tongue bite blends like Captain Black to age it and that bite might not happen? Is that coffee carrier leak proof? Okay, let's answer the first question first. Not necessarily. I've never aged Captain Black, but I wouldn't think that the things that are causing the bite in Captain Black are going to mellow out with aging. That would just be my opinion. Second, is that coffee carrier leak-proof, and if so, what is the brand and type? I had one I could carry on a motorcycle and drink it at work, but many cannot lay on their side and not leak. So this is a clean canteen, but it's spelled annoyingly KLEANKANTEEN, clean canteen. This is the, I wrote this down, TK wide 20 ounce. So it has this nice lid on here that is the entire, I'm dripping on myself, damn it. It's the entire width of the actual insulated thermos. This is very good as far as the insulation goes. Keeps your coffee hot for a long time, keeps your drinks cold if you have a cold drink in there. And yes, it is very leak proof. Extremely leak proof. I could throw this in a backpack and stuff and nothing will ever leak out of this. And this lid is really convenient, really handy. Really nice to drink out of. Has a little carrying loop on the top too, which I can put on a carabiner or something on a bag. I love this. Love the clean canteen, my favorite travel coffee mug, and no, I am not sponsored by them. Next, we have at MichaelCase8574 who says, your photographic heroes shot rangefinder. So I was talking about how I'd really love to try a rangefinder, and I'm gonna expand on that a little bit too, because there's new information has come to light. So like a Leica rangefinder, a Leica M6 would be my dream film camera just to try, because everyone seems to love them. He says, your photographic hero shot rangefinders because good pro single lens reflex cameras were not available. If you want to try a rangefinder, you could do it cheaply with something like a Canonet, or for a little more, a 50th Canon or Leica screw mount camera like a Leica 3F. I've had Canon and Leica LTM cameras. They are lots of fun. Now I have a 50s Contax 2A and a Nikon S rangefinder and a few lenses and love to shoot them. Leica has an attachment that lets you use the camera as an SLR. If you get a chance to try a rangefinder, you will enjoy it. Thanks for all that information, Michael. Yeah, I think initially, especially, you know, if we're talking about Henri Cartier-Bresson in the 30s, yeah, they didn't have SLRs. They rangefinder. If you wanted to shoot a compact 35mm camera, it was pretty much a rangefinder. But then when you get to people like Gary Winogrand in the 60s, well, not even in the 60s, but I guess into the 70s and 80s, they had Nikon SLRs. But he still chose to shoot a rangefinder. In fact, there's a really interesting video I might do a video on where he is talking about why he prefers rangefinders over SLRs. But yeah, definitely in the early days, you just couldn't have an SLR. I'm still really interested in getting a Leica someday, but I don't think that's ever going to happen now because Leica just jacked up their prices like crazy, even more. They were already out of reach for me financially, but now they have raised the prices of their new M6 cameras by hundreds and hundreds of dollars, ostensibly because of tariffs. But I think their prices were already, I think their cameras were super overpriced to begin with. And you would think maybe, oh, we could absorb some of that tariff stuff for our customers. But of course not, no, they're just gonna tack it right onto the cost of the camera. And I think a lot of companies too are just using the threat of tariffs as an excuse to raise prices. It's like what happened during COVID when everyone said that because of supply chain and all this stuff, things got more expensive, so we have to raise our prices. Then after COVID, when the supply chain settled down and everything was fine again, they did not lower their prices again. They used COVID as an excuse to raise prices, to give you less of the thing that you paid the same amount of money for, all these things. And I think a lot of companies are doing the same thing with the threat of tariffs. They're like, oh, everyone expects prices to go up because they know that tariffs are coming, and so why don't we just raise our prices, whether or not the thing that we are selling actually is impacted by the tariffs. Anyway, Leica rangefinder, or the Leica film rangefinders now are even more expensive, and even though used cameras should not be affected by the tariffs at all, I was looking on eBay and everyone has jacked up the prices of the used Leica cameras now to coincide with how they've jacked up the new prices or the new cameras. So I had a dream of one day owning a Leica M6. I think that dream is dead, sadly. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to do that. Anyway, we also have a missive from I Am Just Here to Grill who says, Bradley, why do you typically wear a black sweatband around your wrist? I have noticed this for years and I have occasionally thought about it. Also, do you still have your Barracuda jacket? Has it held up well? I wear this sweatband so I can do this. Sometimes I sweat when I'm walking around, and I use it to wipe the sweat. I know that might seem revolutionary to people that you use a sweatband for sweat, but also, especially when I'm recording, I'll get a little shiny, and I just do that. I don't have like makeup. I don't have a compact little mirror that I can powder my face with, so I just use this. Wipe it down, and you look good. That's what the sweatband's for. And then, yes, I do still have my Barracuda jacket. Wear it all the time. I love it. Okay, and we have a little bit of feedback on the Nix. Oh man, my butt on this rock. I'm gonna try to do this. My Nix Pullman engineer boots. Ugh. After 1 year, I did a review. Check that out. Posted last week on Stuff and Things YouTube. At Faux59 said, nice boots. You can resole them, but Nix won't rebuild them. Now, I did not realize this because I think when I originally ordered these that you could have Nikkor rebuild them, but now they say on their website that they are not rebuildable. And usually with Nikkor, if you have a lace-up boot or something, if you get your boot rebuilt, they will take off the whole lower and rebuild that, and then they'll just put the upper back on. Apparently they won't do that with these pull-on boots now, which is interesting. I don't think I'll ever need that. I think at most I would have to get a resole, and that's fine. So I think even if I have these boots for decades, which I plan on doing, I don't think I'll ever need a full rebuild. But it does kind of suck that that option isn't available. But I think with proper care and everything, I'm never going to get to the point where I have the leather cracking or anything on these. So it should be fine. But you can only do so many resoles before you may have to rebuild the boot. So after 10 years, if I have to do a full resole, does that mean I'm only going to have 10 more years after that? I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, apparently you can't rebuild the pull-on boots. And then at 9897, Sam F says, the reason why Nikkor told you to go down a full size. So when I ordered these boots, I talked about this in all the videos about these boots. I am a 10.5 D in my Brannick measurement size. Nikkor says that if you're ordering lace-up boots, you should get 1/2 size down. So I would be a 10D in their lace-ups. And then they say if you're doing pull-ons, you should go a full size down. So I would be 9.5 D in the pull-ons. That's what I got with these boots, and they fit me perfectly. In the video I just posted, I talked about how they fit me perfectly and how I couldn't imagine wearing any other size. They fit me like a glove. I love them. And then this person says, the reason why Nikkor told you to go down a full size was to reduce the volume. Nikkor also offers different widths. Yes, I know. I would have ordered 11B, narrow width. That way you will have enough room in the toe box while reducing the overall volume because it's a slip-on. B width is almost identical across the flex point as D width. B width only significantly reduces the volume, is snugger in the midfoot, and has a more tighter heel. So I just got done explaining in the video that these boots fit me perfectly and I couldn't imagine getting any other size. And then this person is giving me advice to order a 1/2 size longer than I typically take, and then 1 size narrower. Yeah, these fit me perfectly. My toes fit in the toe box perfectly. These boots fit perfectly. So thank you for the advice, but I don't need it. All right, gang. But now it is time for the very best part of the show, and that is where we thank our Patreon supporters. Remember, if you'd like to support the channels on Patreon, there is a link in the description box below, and it is the only way to currently support Stuff and Things Patreon and Stuff and Things YouTube, because my YouTube channel is still currently demonetized. We'll see if that changes in the future, but it's also the only way to see pipe content. If you are into that sort of thing, it all posts exclusively to Patreon. We post everything on Patreon early and ad-free. Everything's ad-free now because I'm demonetized, but it's the only place that you can see the pipe stuff. And every week, we like to shout out those who support the channels at $25 or more a month. The producers of Stuff and Things. People like Jason Buckner, Arcturus, Ashes of the Phoenix, Jonathon Proctor, The Friendly Piper, GreatGrol, Glenn, just Glenn, Les Brady, David Severin, Nicholas James.
Just had a little issue with the camera there, so we're going to have to re-record the very last part of the episode. Hello, I am Editor Brad, and we're going to continue with the Patreon shoutouts. I would like to thank the following supporters who support the channels on Patreon. People like Jason Buckner, Arcturus, Ashes of the Phoenix, Jonathon Proctor, The Friendly Piper, GreatGrol, Glenn, Just Glenn, Les Brady, David Severin, Nicholas James, Kyle Whitmore, Mr. Gibson, and Chris Caughey. And of course, the Maniac tier, the crazy people who support the channel at $100 a month, people like Bob Magee. And we'll never forget our dearly departed friend and Hall of Fame member, Peter Straub. Now, what can you look forward to on Stuff and Things Patreon this coming week? Well, like I mentioned, we will have the first impressions video of Harat Ray's Hal of the Wind. And then on Thursday, from the archives, we will have Dunhill London Mixture. And that's from February 7th, 2015. So over 10 years old for that review. And London Mixture is a really interesting one. It's one I miss quite a bit because I love Standard Mixture as just a very basic English blend. And London Mixture was basically Standard Mixture with a little bit of Oriental in there. That nice little addition added a little bit of sharpness, a little bit of tartness, a little bit of piquancy. And I really like that blend quite a bit. So Monday on Patreon will be the first impressions video for Rattray's Hal of the Wind. Thursday will be from the archives, Dunhill London Mixture Review. Gang, thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned for all the good stuff coming up on Stuff and Things YouTube and Stuff and Things Patreon. But until next time, until we meet again, I've been a good friend, Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things on a Sunday, Stuff and Things. I'll see you later. Gotta get back to editing now.